Hello, everyone, and welcome to HSF Fiction, the bi-weekly book club podcast. This is, of course, our third episode, and we are doing it in a new way. We are trying this new fangled thing called Google Hangouts. To anyone that knows and has been listening in, we have been using Blog Talk Radio for the last few weeks. This is something new to us. We're trying it out, seeing how it goes, and so far it has been stressful. It has been something different. We are running 5 minutes late to start the broadcast, largely because, according to Google, there are three of me, and we're all trying to talk at once. So hopefully we'll get this figured out, and I'll quit cloning myself. I don't know how it keeps happening, but Google keeps trying to clone more of me. I know I'm awesome, but Google, lay off. So here we are. Yes, we are going to be talking about, we're wrapping up. Last 2 weeks ago, we started reading Ready Player One by Ernest Cline in celebration of what we thought was going to be Ready Player Two coming out. But the title of his next novel has been announced. It is not Ready Player Two. It is Armada, and it will be coming out later this year. In fact, you can pre-order it now, and it will be coming out July 14th. So we're all excited about this. I know I'm a huge fan. After rereading Ready Player One, which we'll talk about later, he just has a sense, Ernest Cline just has a way of really being the geek for all of us. And this next book is about Zach Lightman, who, while he's daydreaming in class, all of a sudden, outside, flying saucers appear. And I like how this doesn't just go in, oh yeah, here we go, here's aliens. But the flying saucers are something that he actually recognizes because it looks like a lot of the video games he's played, almost identical. So I think this is going to be pretty interesting because it's not going to be just a run-of-the-mill, let's shoot 'em up or aliens book. Some other news, of course, Ghost Story by Jim Butcher, the 13th book in the Dresden Files series, has been re-released in audiobook. The original one had a different narrator. Everyone complained. The new version will have James Marsters doing the role. And if you've bought the previous book, I don't know if you still can. I think the sale might have ended yesterday. But if you had bought the previous audio version, Audible was giving you the new copy for free. So I hope all of you are able to get in on that. Another piece of news is the book Jonathan Strange and Mr. Noel will be hitting the small screens. It will be coming out later this year for BBC One. Hopefully we'll get it here in the US and BBC America. And it will be bringing that series, or that book, to life. It was originally a novel by Susan Clark, set in the Neapolitan age with two wizards as they fight and become famous against Napoleon. So obviously I haven't read that book. I just saw the news. I do want to find out more about this. So that is it for the news. I do have a few upcoming releases that I feel we should talk about before we get into talking about Ready Player One and then setting up our next read that we'll be doing, which we actually have two books for the next 2 weeks. But coming up for release on May 5th, we have Straits of Hell, Destroyer Man by Taylor Anderson. We have Sword of the North by Luke Skoll. We have The Book of Phoenix by Nnedi Okorafor. And we have The Lost Fleet, Beyond the Frontier, Leviathan by Jack Campbell. I will be getting my copy next week. Then we have Corsair by James Cambias. We have Oracle, The House War, Book 6 by Michael West. The Gospel of Loki by Joanne M. Harris. This is a hardcover reissue. And then we have on May 12th, we have Where the Kite Where by Kit Reed. And then May 19th, we have Aurora by Ken Stanley Robinson. Seven Eves by Neil Stevenson. The Hanged Man by P. N. Elrod. When the Heavens Fall by Mark Turner. And Eighth Grave After Dark by Darnata Jones. So we got some interesting books coming out in the next couple of weeks here. Of course, as everyone knows, I'm a big fan of Neil Stevenson and Jack Campbell, so those will be on my purchasing list. But moving on, let's get into talking about Ready Player One. So for those of you that don't know, Ready Player One follows the character Wade Watts, or otherwise known as Percival, and it follows him partially in the real world, but mainly it follows his adventures in the Oasis as he is an egger trying to find this Easter egg in this massive online game that has seduced everyone in society and becoming a part of it. And the reason why he's hunting this egg is because whoever finds it wins control of the Oasis. The creator of the Oasis had passed away and had left this as a game for everyone to join in on. So that is the basic plot of it. Now, what we go into here, though, is we get him as well as the other top 5 people who are hunting this egg go up against the evil Comcast-like corporation that is trying to take control of the Oasis. But whoever wins the Oasis gets $200 billion and control. Now, part of what highlights this and makes this such the amazing book that it is how Ernest Cline knows geeks. He knows what makes us tick, he knows what we love, and he knows what to play off of every type of video game fantasy we might have. From the being sucked in to being played, and this is a minor spoiler report, Wade does have to go through a series of gates. One of the gates, the first gate, that's why I feel okay telling you because this is early in the book, he has to go through playing the game War Games. What is the game War Games? He has to play the movie. He is the main character in the movie War Games, and he has to play through the movie as from that perspective as he is living the movie. He has to hit every point of dialogue, every action to get through the movie. And as soon as I read that in the book, my immediate thought was, well, that seems that seems actually pretty cool and kind of fun. I think I would love to go back, find some of my favorite movies, and then have to live through the movie as my favorite character. So Ernest Cline gets that. Then he also gets the steady pacing of it, not just one thing happens, then another thing happens, then another thing. We get different levels where it almost feels like we are working our way through a video game. We have phase 1, we have phase 2, and then we have phase 3. And he differentiates them all where it does build up. And then we also do get at the end the overall theme that sometimes we do have to go outside. But in the video game culture that we do love and get sucked into these video games, and we will continue to be that way. So overall, this book, I feel, is absolutely 100% positively a must-read novel. I feel that this one pulls you in better than most other novels do. And when you get done reading it, you want to read it again because you want to enter into the Oasis. You want to enter into that world, and you want to be a part of Wade Watts' life. Every part of it, from how he sets up the dystopian society of how when you're out of the Oasis, everything is crumbled and the world is falling apart, to inside the Oasis, where they're actually being able to be in Ultraman robots, or they're able to actually fly around in their own X-Wings. So, and now, as we reported in the news, and that's why we started reading this book, Steven Spielberg has said that he is going to be developing this to make a film out of it. And as much as I'm not the biggest fan of Steven Spielberg, I feel he might be the perfect director for this. Largely because I feel there's a quality to him that gets the 80s nostalgia that this book pulls off of. And oh yes, if I haven't mentioned enough, this book is filled with 80s nostalgia, from how the main character has an obsession with family ties. And yes, this book did just recently come out last year or the year before, so it's not like it's, you know, a book written in the 80s. No, this book is written to remember the 80s. So it gets it. From Wade Watts when he flies an event in a time-traveling DeLorean. Of course, the flux capacitor has been decapitated, but it's not working. But he's flying in a flying DeLorean to this Death Star-like party, this party that's in a Death Star-like globe. So there's just so much to pick apart and enjoy in this book. You must do it. You must enjoy this book. So now, on top of that, actually, that is all I'm going to say about that. We're going to move on here in just a second. We're going to start talking about the books that we're going to start reading in the next 2 weeks here. So just give me 1 second to transition into that. Unfortunately, as I am doing a new system here, I don't have everything at the touch of a finger. So it does take me a little bit here as I go from one device to the other. So, okay, and now that I've got that situated, we do have 2 books that we're going to start reading. The first book, I am reading this one off my Kindle, and it is called Losing Touch. It is written by an author, Christian A. Larsen, who I will actually have the pleasure of interviewing soon in our Author Spotlight. It will be our first episode of Author Spotlight. And this book follows a gentleman, his name's Morgan, and all of a sudden one day, he starts to phase through objects. Cool, hey, he's got a superpower. Yeah, let's go and rob banks, or let's go do something. Well, wait, what about when you don't know how to control this superpower? What happens when you're driving a car all of a sudden and you don't know if you're going to just all of a sudden fall out of the car, or let's say all of a sudden you're sitting, going to the bathroom, and all of a sudden you just fall through. Christian A. Larsen actually takes a stab at looking at this. Here we have what by many standards would be thought of as this man getting a superpower, and we find out it's not so much an ability but a curse. I've only made it a part of way starting this book, and this is only setting up what we will be reading here in the next 2 weeks. The other book that we'll be starting to read is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is the first book in the King Killer series, and everyone has been telling me that we need to read Patrick Rothfuss. I know a lot of you out there feel that he is your favorite author, and I'll admit this is my first time reading any of his books, so I'm excited. I've read a little bit of it so far, and already I can't wait to start talking about it in the next 2 weeks. It, of course, follows Coat as he is telling his story. I don't know much more than that. So if you have a copy of these books, start reading them, and then we will talk about them in 2 weeks. If you do not have a copy of these books, find them. Visit my website, jasonrdavis.net, and we are going to be starting I'll start to have links off of there as to how you can join in and start discussing some of these books with us, so that way I can actually say over the podcast some of these things about what we've been talking about. That way you can contribute and we can do this together, start talking about some of these books. For this week and into the next, this is HSF Fiction. Join us next week as we have our Streak Speak podcast. It will be on our normal Blog Talk Radio network. And then, as I said, this weekend we'll be having the Author Spotlight with Christian A. Larsen, talking about him, his writing process, his favorite, what inspires him, and why does he have to hate on the Cubs so much? Until next week, this is Jason R. Davis, signing out.